Hey, what's going on YouTube? This is the Ranting Cowboy. We're going to do another video. 3 rules. 1, you don't like it. Being an adult, go ahead and turn it off. 2, you don't like it, but you decide that you want to keep watching. Or if you do like it and you want to continue hearing what I have to say, go ahead and like and subscribe. And 3, if you decide to comment, I'm probably going to call you out on something depending on how funny I found it or depending on how much I disagree with it. That being said, I am going to go ahead and call Jason Steele on one of the comments he made on my what do you call them? Bible thumpers. There we go. That's the word I'm looking for. Bible thumpers. I see where he's coming from with the whole reproducing. You are able to do that at the age of 13. But, like I've said before, I don't agree with being able to do that at that age. Is your body capable of it? Yes. That doesn't mean that I agree that 13-year-olds should be going out and reproducing. I don't agree with that. The reason why we set it up at the age of 18, one, because, well, the government got their nose into things. But the reason why I agree with why it should be 18 is the average 17-year-old on down, even an 18-year-old, the average 18-year-old, the average 21-year-old is not mature enough to know, is this the right time? Is this the right thing? Is this what I want to do? They are not mature enough to know that. So, with that being said, that's my standpoint on it. Like I said, I do see where you're coming from. As far as the tithing goes from the church, that's a thing that is actually that it's unbiblical that the church requires you to do that. And they always say we don't require this, but it's what God commands, and that's not necessarily true. If you do it, it should be a thing that's between you and God. You want to give something to the church. It should be called donations. It shouldn't be called tithing. That was actually an Old Testament thing when they were under the law, where they had to commit sacrifices. And it was never money, it was always animals. It was never money. Church took it and they twisted it just like they take and twist everything else. So, that's what I'm going to say about that. I am going to also call out to a friend of mine who did not comment on YouTube, so I'm not going to give out his name. But a friend of mine mentioned to me that I need to do something about Joe Biden. Do a video about Joe Biden. And this video was going to be about that, but I see a lot of bigger issues. But don't worry, buddy. We're going to get into Joe Biden. But right now, I'm going to focus on things that are going on in America today. And the reason why this video is called That Ain't My America is because that's not the America I grew up in. So, set up. We're going to get right into it. First things first, we're talking about packing the court. We're trying to create... Hate having a lisp and a stutter at the same time. Man, and it's one of those stutters, like, I don't know if you people have noticed it, but it's one of those stutters where it comes and it goes. It's not... I'm trying to think of how... It's not constantly there. That's the word I'm looking for. But, not the word I'm looking for, but... It's not constantly there. It's kind of like it picks and chooses when my brain wants me to just stutter and just blah, 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 blah. Anyway, so, I'm talking about packing the court. When the Supreme Court first started, it was only 6 seats. Now, we upped that to 9 seats because here's how it worked. You had 6 seats. If you had the 6 seats, you wanted to pass a law, and let's say 3 voted yes, 3 voted no. So it was a tie vote. What happened with that is, okay, the law didn't get passed. So now, you have Democrats and Republicans who want to push their agendas, and instead of, hey, Supreme Court, 3-3, you now have 5-4. So if 5 say yes, 4 say no, that's why we made it an even number. It doesn't have a tie vote anymore. Now you have 5 who say yes, 4 who say no, or 5 who say no, and 4 who say yes. No ties. So now that law gets passed. So it would have to be a law where 6 would have to say no. You understand that's how that math works, right? 6 would have to say no. 3 would say yes. 3 would say no. 6 would say yes. So that's why we did it that way. Now Biden wants to add more seats, bring in more people who are going to push the Democratic agenda. So now let's say that he adds one more seat, which brings it to 10. Well, that still creates the possibility of 5-5. So if 5 Democrats say yes, and let's say that 4 Republicans, whatever it is, or let's say that 4 say no, and this last guy is like, okay, so my vote will either tie it or bring the law into ability. And he decides, you know what, screw it. I'm going to vote yes on, let's say it's a gun grab. Okay, that's the most drastic case scenario, but I'm all about the most drastic case. It's what I think that's how we should always view things: is what is the worst thing, what is the worst possible thing that can happen from this? Not what's the best thing that can happen from this, but always focus on what is the worst possible thing that could happen from this. Everybody goes, man, why are you so negative? Well, because it's a fucking government. That's why I'm negative. They love to get their fucking nose into everything and try to just, don't want to say it this way, but it's pretty much how it is. They try to ruin everybody's fun by how can we get our nose into this. So, now you have, let's say he only adds the one more seat, and now you have this guy who wants to just go and grab all the guns. Now there are Supreme Court justices who sit there and they're like, no, we're not going to do that. And so let's say that it goes 6-4. Well, then Biden decides, okay, I'm going to add another seat. So now it's 6-5. So then Biden decides, you know what, I'm going to add 2 more seats. So now it's 6 and 7. And the ones he grabs, he makes sure he picks them based on the fact that, are you actually going to pass my rules that I try to employ? Another thing that's happening with Biden, man, this video is becoming about Biden. God. Another thing that happens with Biden, or that just happened with Biden, is talking about this, you have a scab or something I keep picking at. Anyway, another thing that just happened with Biden is he decided that we're going to do this whole economic plan. It's going to be eco-friendly. One of those things will be that it's going to completely cut out Americans' diets drastically to the point of where we're only going to be able to have 1 cheeseburger a month. 1 meal with red meat a month. Literally, that's what his plan is. Oh, also, Americans might be forced to buy $55,000 eco-friendly vehicles. I'm sorry, I don't have $55,000 just laying around. If I did, I wouldn't be living in frickin' Minnesota. I'd be moved already to either Texas or Tennessee or South Dakota or somewhere red. I'm done with the fucking blue. Like, I used to be a Democrat. That's the sad part. I used to be one of you fuckers. And I am in no shape, way, or form a Republican either. Do I like some of their ideas better than I like the Democrats? Absolutely. I like a lot of Republicans' ideas better than I like the Democrats' ideas. There are a few Democrat ideas I do agree with. Do not get me wrong. But, for the majority's sake, I agree with Republicans a little bit more. I disagree with Republicans because they are still about making infractions on your fucking constitutional rights. Infractions? Is that the word I'm looking for? Oh, I don't even know anymore. English was not my strong suit. Oh, that's another rant I'm going to go on one of these days. Just the English language. Like, how many fucking different ways is there to spell there and to? T-H-E-Y-R-E. T-H-E-I-R. T-H-E-R-E. Two. T-W-O, number. two, letter, T-O, and then two, me too, T-O-O. Who the fuck thought of this? Like, anyway, that's gonna be a completely different video, but that's just something that, like, every time I go to write something to somebody, like, correct somebody on something, I'm like, wait, I have to check my spelling on this. Just because of the way that it's spelt right, but is this the situation in which I want to use it spelt that way? Couldn't we made something a little bit less confusing? Like, there are some days where I'm just like, God, I wish the founding fathers would have made us speak German. Oh, and for those of you who didn't know, that was actually something that was debated on. So every time everybody's like, well, you can thank the English for your language. Well, actually, I can thank my founding fathers for the fact that I'm speaking English instead of German. Because they voted on this when we first became a nation. So those of you who didn't know that, there's a little bit of history knowledge for you. Anyway, moving back into this whole thing with Pedo Joe. So he wants us to buy $55,000 cars, electric cars. Here's the other problem with that. You get fucking California. Yeah, are they already trying to do this? Did they already pass a bill where they're saying in I think it's 2024 or 2025. I know it's still in the 20s. That they're going to end up having completely electric cars. Complete electric car circle. So, here's the problem with that with California. Do you know what state has the most blackouts? To the point where they can't even get gas sometimes because there's a blackout, and the pumps do run on electricity. They can't get gas. If I lived in California, you know what I'd be probably doing every freaking paycheck? Going and filling up my car and then buying like 25 10-gallon gas tanks and filling every one of those things up. Yeah, I wouldn't have any money for groceries or anything, but guess what? I have gas to get to fucking work. That's then gonna go pay for my gas. That's taxed up the ass. But anyway, California's already got fucking blackouts. So now you've got blackouts and you can't charge your fucking car. So now guess who can't go to work? This guy. Because I can't charge my fucking electric car that the government told me I was forced to buy. First of all, if you're going to enforce that, it then has to be the thing of the government's then going to provide you. Because they're the ones that did that to you. And I don't want the government providing anything to me because here's the problem. Government provides it to me, guess who owns it? The government. Which now means I have to use it for whatever the government says I can use it for. Here's how that looks in a complete drastic situation. And like I said, I always prepare for the worst. And everybody's like, "Oh, you're so negative all the time." It's not that I'm negative. It's that I'm trying to think of the worst case scenario, because of the fact that worst case scenario is usually what comes into being. You don't believe me? Well, I'll tell you what. Let's go over to Afghanistan, and you can see what I mean by that. So, continuing on with this. Worst case scenario of the government providing you a vehicle, if that were to happen, which it won't happen because the government would just tell you, yeah, you have to go buy this vehicle. Oh, you can't afford it? Well, then guess who doesn't get a vehicle? You don't get a vehicle. We're also going to tax you up the ass for that vehicle. $55,000. Let's do 15% sales tax, depending on what state you're living in. Yeah, that's what you're looking at paying. Oh, and you don't have credit to do it. Well, guess who's not getting a car? So, and then guess what happens to the fucking farmers? Because these electric cars can't hold their shit. So now farmers are completely obsolete because they can't get their equipment. Are we going to have to make all those electric powered too? Like, what's going to happen to the farmers? Oh, and then another bill passed with Biden is that he's going to pay farmers more if they don't farm. How about we actually pay them what we need to pay them for the food that we're getting? You realize that's who's getting us our food is the fucking American farmers and the truckers? And both of these people are treated like shit. We call the truckers the most uneducated profession. That and construction workers and farmers. We call all three of those the most uneducated professions. Why? Why are they uneducated? Why do we think they are uneducated? Do you actually know that most farmers that went into farming, well, not most, let me rephrase. There are a lot of farmers, though, that I've met because I used to work with farmers that actually went to school to learn things about, you know, the fucking ground that they were working with. And people don't just sit here, like, if I brought out a city guy, let's do that. If I brought out a city guy out into a cornfield and told him, here, I want you to make corn grow. And he goes to try to look up YouTube and like, you can't use YouTube. These guys have been doing it since they've been growing up. So they probably have never watched YouTube to see how it works. And he goes to try to look something else up online. I'm like, you can't use that. All you can use is the ground there. You have to figure out your spacing. You have to figure out if that dirt is hydrated enough, if it's wet enough, if it's too dry, if it's too wet. You have to figure all that stuff out on your own. Figure it out. This guy from the city is going to fucking starve. Because guess what? He's going to sit there and be like, this looks like good dirt. It's wet. It's good. Okay, well, that dirt's actually overly wet, and now you just drowned all your crops. They're not going to grow now. So, yeah, that happened. Everybody's always like, oh, look at this rain that we're getting. Look at the snow we're getting. It's so good for the farmers. Yeah, except for too much of it could actually kill the plants. And so every time it starts pouring, I sit there and I'm like, okay, is that too much? Is this too much moisture that's getting into the ground? Like, and I actually get worried, and people are like, oh no, it'll be great for the farmers. I'm like, it's been raining for 3 weeks straight. This actually might not be the best thing for these farmers. Like, you guys are all excited for the farmers, and the farmers probably all sitting here like, okay, this is too wet. There is such a thing as too wet and too dry. And for some reason, city folk can't figure that shit out. And our government can't figure that shit out either. And so now they're just trying to make it even harder for these farmers. They're trying to make their lives even harder. You realize that is how they make their money, is by going and selling these things to the market. So if we start doing what Biden wants to do with meat, you have meat farmers, like livestock ranchers. They're not even called farmers, they're called ranchers. Livestock ranchers. That's how they make their income. So now they can afford to get more, so that they can then feed another year, and so they can pay for their house mortgaging, and their ranch, and their equipment, and their freaking trucks that they need to bring that to the slaughterhouse, or to the shows. And I remember that I went down to Kansas one time to go help a rancher. And it was my first time helping with actual cattle, working down there. And first of all, those beasts are magnificent. They are actually really intelligent. They can't just be driven because they know that something's wrong. When you're trying to load them all up into this trailer, they know that something's up. And we were trying to drive them in, and that was the first time I ever thought I broke my fucking foot. Because as we're sitting there trying to get these things in, and we're trying to spook them and everything, trying to chase them in, no, one of them, I turn around, and one of them comes dashing at me. I go to jump all the way, and I didn't jump back fast enough, and I got my foot run over. Thought for sure I broke my fucking foot. And he just sits there and looks at me and goes, you'll be fine. Can you still walk? Yeah. Well, even if it's broken and you can still walk, you're good. Let's get in the truck. We got in the truck, we drove off, and came back. My foot was still hurting. I'm sitting there walking towards the house, and he tells me, hey, let's go fix this fence. I'm like, bro. We go fix the fence, and he starts telling me all these stories about how he's had his hand run over, he's had his feet run over. We went and worked on his freaking tractor, and I watched him smash his hand into the fucking wheel bearing, while we were replacing a tire. And the guy's hand is bleeding, And I just watch him wrap it. Goes right back to wrenching at it. Just like, Jesus Christ. This guy's driven. And then I start thinking about it. It's like, he's got a wife. He's got 3 kids. This is how he makes his money. This is how he makes sure that he can afford things for them. That's why he's driven this way. And we are trying to just kill the American farmer right now. Why? Here's why. Because the government knows that if the American farmer goes away, we now have to get meat from another place. If we have to get meat from another place, we become reliant on that. Because we're not getting the meat here. Now their people become reliant on the government actually having that deal. So who are they reliant on? They're reliant on another country, and they are reliant on the government. Why do you think the government would be okay with that? Here's why. The government wants you to have to rely on them. Because if we have to rely on them, they can now make whatever rules they have to make. Or they want to make. They can make whatever laws they want to make. I remember growing up, I grew up before all the no smoking signs. Like, there were no smoking signs like inside stores, like you weren't allowed to smoke inside stores. But restaurants, I remember you could smoke in them. I remember being 8 years old and or more like 6 or 7 years old, and sitting in a restaurant, and my dad told them that we wanted to sit somewhere where they weren't smoking. And the guy kind of chuckled and said, yeah, we have nowhere for you to sit. Because everybody inside that famous Dave's was smoking. And that used to be like the joint where everybody who smoked went and hung out. Because, hey, we can get a beer, we can get a burger, we can get some ribs, and we can sit here and enjoy our food. And then after we're done eating, instead of having to get up and walk outside, we can just sit here and just smoke away. That used to be a thing. You used to be able to smoke in bars. You used to be able to smoke in, like, saloons. Cowboy Jack's. I mean, first of all, it's not a real cowboy saloon. But it's the closest thing we have to a cowboy saloon in Minnesota. Why can't I smoke in there? Why can't I dip in there? Like, there's no tobacco use whatsoever. And people are like, oh, well, it can contaminate the food. Yeah, it's my fucking food that I'm eating. It's not like I'm back out in the kitchen, sitting there going over everybody's food, and then sitting there with a spitter right over people's food. It's my fucking food that I'm contaminating by smoking over it. Or by dipping over it. First of all, if you dip and you eat at the same time, you're of the devil. Just gonna throw that out there. I used to dip. I kind of miss it, not gonna lie, but you're of the devil if you can eat and dip at the same time. I used to be able to dip and drink beer at the same time, but that's different. Eating and drinking is completely different than... Or dipping and drinking is completely different than dipping and eating. Just throwing that out there for people. I have seen people who are able to do that, and it's just like, how are you not worried that that's going to get into your, like, you're going to end up gutting it, and then, yeah, gross. But there are some people who are into gutting, so... Anyway, continuing on. And if you're able to do that and you want to do it, that's fine. I'm just going to tell you you're of the devil, but it's completely your right to do it. But moving on. These gun laws that they're passing. Like, red flag gun laws that have been passed for now probably 6 or 7 years. Probably not that long. I don't really remember when they first got installed, but I know it was after Obama. So actually, we have to be younger than that, because I think they got installed during Trump, and Trump was all for the red flag gun laws, which pissed me off. And now everybody's gonna be like, "Oh well, you disagree with Trump and you're a liberal, blah blah blah." No, just because I disagree with him doesn't make me a fucking liberal. Just like when I say something against a Democrat doesn't make me a fucking Republican. I'm all about the Constitution. If the Democrats do something that's actually for the Constitution, actually follows the Constitution, I sit there and go, hey, good job, Democrats. If a Republican does it, I'm like, hey, good job, Republicans. A Libertarian does it, good job. Green Party does it, good job. I'm about the Constitution. That's what I'm all about. I'm all about our founding fathers. And we completely destroyed their fucking country that they made for us. And the way we did it, I'm going into this now, is we the people became lazy and we became compliant. And we became complacent. That's what happened. We just sat here and let the government just run amok. Let them pass these stupid fucking bills that had no business passing. And people are going to sit here and be like, well, what do you think about slavery? That should have ended. Totally agree. Well, what about taxation? Nope. The 16th Amendment can go away. Here's why. When we first did it, it was during World War I, and it was to pay for the war and for the troops. We needed to get involved. Same with World War II. We needed to be involved. Korea, not so much. Vietnam, not so much. The war following 9/11, so the Operation Iraqi Freedom and Operation Enduring Freedom, we needed to be involved because we did get attacked. But as soon as we founded their country and decided, hey, and first of all, Obama pulled us up prematurely. But as soon as we founded their country for them and trained their troops, that should have been when we pulled out. And guess what? Every time we pull out of a country, every time that we end the war, the taxation goes away. I'm fine with taxes to a point, because I do see that there is needs for taxes. But when you're taxing the American people to the breaking point, that's no longer to the point where we need to be taxed. And you know who's all for the taxation? Fucking politicians. You want to know why? Because that's how they get paid. They don't work a real job. Their job is to sit here and govern us. That's not even what their job is. You're not supposed to be telling me how I can and cannot live my life. That's not your job. If I am living my life without breaking the law, and in my mind without breaking the law is I am not harming anybody else by doing what I'm doing, you have no right to tell me how to live it. So let's just pull in this guy. We're going to pull in this guy. We're going to call him Joe. We're going to pull in Joe. And Joe is going to sit here and he's going to say, like, you know what? I'm going to buy a gun. And I'm going to own it. It's just for my protection. It's for my family's protection. I'm going to carry it. So he goes out to go buy a gun. Here's a law that I just found out is in effect. Did not know this. He goes to go buy a gun. Hey, I want to buy a gun. Guy sits there and goes, okay. They go to run his background check. Disagree with those. Go to run the background check. Hey, you can't own a gun. Why? Well, the ATF, you can contact the ATF to ask him for the reason, so he goes and contacts the ATF. Disagree with that branch. And contacts the ATF. ATF sits there and they tell him, yeah, you can't own a gun. Well, why? Well, you went to go claim on your taxes. Yeah. Well, you checked this wrong. Oh, I must have made a mistake on my taxes. Okay, I'll get that fixed. So once I get that fixed, I can own a gun. No. You checked it wrong, so you're not eligible to own a firearm. Ever. Wait, what? And they just sit there like, yeah, you can't own a gun. Because you checked that off wrong. Then you have this guy who admitted to bootlegging tapes. This is actually a crime. But he admitted to it. Paid a fine, whatever. Don't really know if you have to do time for that back in that day and age. And there are probably some kids sitting here going, what's a tape? What's a cassette? What are we talking about? Before your time, kid. Just turn off the video. You shouldn't be watching this because I'm going to say some very nasty words. Anyway, so he paid the fine, did the time, whatever. Goes to go buy a gun. Again, gets told, no, you can't own one. Well, why? Well, because you bootleg tapes. Okay, that was like 100 years ago, bro. And they sit there like, yeah, but you did it, and so it's going to be on your record forever. You can't own a gun. That's actually a law. Go Google it. You can look this shit up. I actually was just reading about it like the other day because the Supreme Court had a hearing about it for 3 different crimes. I'm going into the third one in a second. But for 3 different crimes they had a hearing. Bootlegging was one. Checking something off on your taxes was another. And both of these bar you from ever owning a gun. And here's the third one. Marijuana. I get it, in some states it's not legal. So, in that case, since it's not legal, you get busted with it. Okay, you can't own a gun because you broke the law. First of all, disagree because it's your right as an American citizen. You don't automatically become an un-American citizen by breaking the law. You're still an American citizen. And people are going to be like, oh, well, you think murderers should have guns? Hey, guess what? He's a murderer and he's got a gun, but he now knows that everybody else does? Guess what he's probably not going to want to do? And if he does want to do it, he's going to end up running into the wrong fucker who's going to end up dropping him. But it could take a while for that to happen. Probably not. Because if he gets tried for it, and they find him guilty, and if we did what we're supposed to do as a society of actually taking care of this problem, murderers got the death penalty. And people are like, oh, well, I disagree with the death penalty. Why? Well, it's inhumane. Okay, so apparently somebody rapes a woman, that's obviously humane. Somebody takes another person's life, that's humane. Somebody molests a child, that's humane apparently. So yeah, you're right. We shouldn't do the death penalty for those 3 things because they're obviously human. No, they did it. They got found guilty of it. The evidence all pointed that it was them. No. We're not going to treat this like, oh, hey, well, you murdered this guy. You shouldn't have done it. Here, we're going to put you in prison for 15 years. We're going to say 25 to life, but if you get good behavior, you'll get back out. Oh, and don't worry. You've got the state-of-the-art equipment for working out. You're going to get 3 great, not great, but you're going to get 3 meals a day. You have a bed that you don't even pay for because the taxpayers pay for it. And yeah, enjoy your stay at the Hampton Hotel. It's not called the Hampton Hotel. It's more like a Stillwater Prison or where the fuck ever else he ends up going. But bring back the death penalty. Let's not even bring back the death penalty. Let's bring back the Blood Eagle. For those of you who don't know what it is, go YouTube it or Google it. Read about it. Don't watch videos about it because it's Hollywood and they completely either they over dramatize it or else they undershow it. Go read about what it actually was. It is brutal. And it should be what pedophiles and rapists and child molesters and murderers get. All of them should get the Blood Eagle. And it should be a public display. Like, should children watch it? No. Adults should have to watch it. The reason why is because that way you have this guy over here who's thinking about, you know what, that guy really pissed me off. I'm going to go take care of him. He goes and watches that and he's like, oh boy. Is it worth that? Because going to jail, oh, that's worth it. I mean, I get my 3 meals. I can get out. I mean, yeah, I lose a lot of rights. They're not rights anymore, now they're privileges. That's another one. Your First Amendment. We're gonna go into it like this. We're gonna go first, and then we're gonna go into the Second Amendment. And then we're gonna go into slavery. Cause yeah, you guys all think that's over. First Amendment. We have completely abolished the First Amendment. If you don't believe me, go look up this country artist who said the N-word. Do I agree with him saying it? No. Should he have said it? No. Should it be used? No. But words have no power unless we give them power. And by doing things like this, you are giving that word power. They completely decided to cancel him. They took his music off the radio. He lost his contracts, his sponsorships, all that shit. And all because he said the N-word. Again, do I agree with what he said? No. Should it be used? No. But it should be up to the American people to decide, hey, I'm personally not going to listen to him. If you listen to him, well, that's your decision. I'm not going to agree with your decision. We're probably going to get into an argument about you listening to him. But it is your decision. Versus what happened was, oh, we disagree with it. We're going to take him off the radio. We're going to kill his contracts. We're going to take him off of CMT awards. Awards. There we go. We're going to take him off all that. And then if anybody listens to him, label him as racist. Tell them that they're racist because they listen to this guy. And that's what happened. We decided to go and attack everybody because they chose, instead of not listening, to listen. And everybody now is getting attacked and getting their panties in a wad because of the fact that, oh, you still listen to this guy and he was labeled as a racist. Is that what should be happening? No. Do I agree with this? No. But we have decided that we're going to take words and be like, oh, hey, instead of sticks and stones might break my bones, but words would never hurt me. We decided to be like, sticks and stones, just ban those, and words, oh, they're very hurtful. Yeah, I know I didn't rhyme at all. It's because you can't rhyme anything with stupid. Actually, can you? Cupid. Stupid Cupid. Yeah, I guess you can rhyme things with stupid. But you get what my point is. Stupid Cupid. Wow, is that actually a phrase? I might start saying that about people who are like madly in love with the other one. Stupid Cupid. Huh. Anyway, I think I might have just come up with a new favorite phrase for me. I'm getting sidetracked. I've got ADHD if you couldn't tell. Anyway, Second Amendment rights. We're going to go into that. Or no, we're going to stick on the First Amendment. Never mind, I've got more to say about this First Amendment. I know I keep talking about cancel culture and all that crap, but like I just said, it is crap. Oh my god, cancel culture pisses me off so much. We've got cancel culture now trying to cancel Elizabeth Olsen. This is something that might be old news, but I just found out about it. Because you used the word gypsy. And apparently that's offensive. I mean, fuck. I've got fuckers at work who call me kike. And guess what? They're my friends. Do I get pissed off? Some of them are like, some of their jokes are hilarious. I had a guy walk up to me and goes, hey, did you watch the movie of Anne Frank? Like, did you ever watch that movie? I was like, yeah. And he goes, wasn't that ending just hilarious? I was like, what's wrong with you? What is wrong with you? I had another friend of mine come up, or coworker. We don't really know each other well enough to call each other friends, but he walked up to me and goes, hey, did you ever go to camp as a kid? I was like, not really. I mean, we went to family camps. He's like, is it because you have horrible concentration? She's like, fuck you. Fuck you. And I walked away from him. I was laughing hysterically low because I think that those kind of jokes are funny because I don't get offended. Why do I not get offended by it when my ancestors were actually killed because of this shit? Because it's not happening anymore. I mean, it is over if you look at what's going on in the Mideast. The Israel is one of the most targeted areas in the Mideast. And everybody's like, well, they caused it. No, actually they didn't. Go actually do some fucking research. Stop listening to the fucking media and go do some fucking research on who started this shit. It wasn't Israel. Israel wanted to be left the fuck alone. And then everybody started sticking their noses into things and started trying to condemn Israel. And Israel said, you know what? Fuck you. Let's play your game. You want to drop bombs? We'll drop bombs. Your innocents are going to get injured just like ours did. Your innocents will be killed just like ours were. fuck you. You want to play? Let's play. Honestly, America should take notes from Israel and be like, hey, this is how Israel retaliates. Maybe we should start doing this so we get left the fuck alone. Instead of trying to be like, oh, hey, we'll just be everybody's buddy. We'll be all inclusive here. Come in. You're from our enemy's country. You might be spying on us. You might be bringing in diseases. But come in! Oh, goddamn, I'm going to get labeled as a racist. I don't fucking care anymore. Label me whatever the fuck you want. Yeah, you get to know me, you'll know that it's completely the opposite of whatever anybody says about me. But you're not going to get to know me because that's not what the left does. The left just takes one comment you make. The right does it too. They take whatever comment you make and they just blow it out of proportion to make you seem like you're an extremist. I had a guy try telling me I was a liberal because of the fact that I called out Trump about the red flag laws, and then I called out Trump about what was it? Oh, about the saying that we're not going to send the National Guard down, we're going to send down the Army to the border. And I just sat there and looked at this guy at work. I was like, we are the Army. Army National Guard. We are the Army. We are the military. Like, what the fuck? Like, I was pissed. You want to piss off the National Guard infantryman? Tell me he's not fucking Army. Tell me he's not fucking military. That will piss off a fucking National Guard infantryman real fucking quick. That is the only time my panties will get in a wad. That is the only time where I will get so pissed that I will turn red in the face because somebody said something insulting to me. I was pissed. So I'm sitting there just bashing Trump, saying how Trump didn't know what the fuck he was talking about. He was a fucking idiot. He pissed me the fuck off. And this guy looks at me and goes, wow, you don't want to be such a fucking liberal. He's like, just because you don't agree with him, you don't have to sit here and just say he's a fucking idiot. He's like, he's done a lot of great things, actually. I was like, don't get me wrong, he has done some great things. I was like, but he's a fucking idiot. And then the guy sits here and goes, well, typical liberal. And he goes to walk away. I was like, I'm not fucking liberal. And then I got even more pissed because you're not going to call me a fucking liberal and you're not going to call me a Republican. Those are the two things you will not call me. People will call me that, but I don't fucking care. I do care, actually. I care very much being called a fucking Republican or a fucking liberal. I care very, very much. Don't fucking call me that. Pisses me the fuck off. I'm just like, oh my god. I need to go smoke. But yeah, so I just sat there and was bashing on Trump for it, and then I was bashing on him for those red flag gun laws, and people were like, well, you need to understand where he's coming from. I'm like, yeah, he's coming from the standpoint of, hey, how am I going to get more votes? That worked real well, didn't it, Trump? And you can sit here and tell me it was rigged all you fucking want. Do I agree that there are numbers that don't make sense? Absolutely. Do I personally think it was a legitimate election? Not really, because, well, we don't know who was where, what was what. It doesn't fucking matter, though. It doesn't fucking matter. Either way, we were screwed. We had Trump, who was all for red flag gun laws, and people were like, well, he was going to make constitutional carry nationwide. Yeah, he said it the first fucking time. How did that end? Stop believing everything he says. He's not going to do that. He was looking for votes. Every politician does it. And don't tell me Trump wasn't a politician, because he was. And he lied. A lot. Did he lie as much as Biden does? No. Did he say things as wrong as Biden does? No. Still makes him a liar. It's kind of like, I'm going to use this analogy. You have this murderer and this murderer. This murderer murdered a guy who was 36 years old, no family, guy was a druggie, scum of the earth, had robbed other people, blah, blah, blah. Guy murders him. Then you have this murderer. Murdered a guy who's got a wife and kids. Guy worked at a bank. Gave back to society. What's something else great I could use? Donated money to the Diabetes Foundation. And went on like walks for them. They're both murderers. But is this murderer less wrong because he murdered a guy who was scum of the earth? And is this murderer more wrong because he murdered a guy who was a great community figure? No, they're both fucking murderers. So they should be tried equally. Same thing with Trump and Biden. Trump lied, Biden lied. Should either one of them be trusted? No! How do you know a politician's lying when his lips are moving? That's any politician. I don't fucking care. I don't even care if they're part of the fucking constitutional party, which I just found out actually is a thing. And now I'm not sure if I agree with them because apparently they go more towards slavery should still be a thing. I disagree with them on that. I agree with them on the Constitution. What they don't understand, I don't think, is the reason why blacks were not freed during that time was because in order to get the Declaration of Independence signed, by the numbers they needed signed by, they had to drop a very important piece that then Abraham Lincoln installed. And that piece was to end slavery. They had to drop it in order to get the numbers to sign it. John Adams was against it. Against slavery, I mean. Not against the bill they were trying to put in there. Benjamin Franklin was actually against it. Samuel Adams had actually already freed his slaves when they were writing the Declaration of Independence. And John Hancock was against slavery. So there were a lot of our founding fathers who were against it, but in order to get it signed by the others, they had to drop that part. And John Adams even said, or not John Adams, sorry, Benjamin Franklin even said that one day the slavery will be revisited on us as an American people. Guess what? His words came true because now we're going into slavery. We as a people, we are now slaves. We are slaves to the fucking government. You have to go out and you have to work your ass off in order to get taxed and to pay this. Yeah, we're getting paid. There were slaves who were on salary. They tell us what to believe. You don't believe me? Go turn on your fucking news. They'll tell you what happened and how you are supposed to feel about it. Here's another thing about the news. Before I keep moving into how we are slaves, the news is owned by the government. I know I'm going to sound like a conspiracy theorist for saying this, but the news is owned by the government. And I believe that the media's job is to divide us. That is their job. And so with that being said, the media is told to report this and say it this way. Say it more conservative for these networks. Then the media on the left is owned, and they're told report it this way. And try to make them feel this way about it. That way we can divide them, because if we divide them, guess what? They will not join together to try to get rid of us. And I have people who have sat there and tried telling this too, and they're like, that doesn't make any sense. It's like, really? Think about it. If you wanted to control people and wanted to make sure that you stayed in power, would you not try to control who delivers the messages? Would you not try to control those messengers so that they report the message the exact way that you told them to? Because if we divide amongst ourselves, guess who we can't topple? We can't topple a government. American people need to join back together. We are not free. We think we are. You think you're free? Go try to paint your own shed. Go try to build your own shed. You have to get a permit for siding. And you have to have a licensed. And people are like, oh, it's for your safety. That's why you have to be licensed. No, it's not. They don't care about your fucking safety. The government does not care. The reason why they care is because, hey, you need to buy this permit. And you have to pay for it. And then if you go out and do it yourself, we're going to fine you. So either way, we're going to get paid. But if you die from doing it yourself, that's one more taxpayer that we lose, and we lose that income. Like, why is it so hard for people to figure out that the government does not give two shits about us? And I know there are a lot of people out there, like me, who know the government doesn't, and they'll sit there and they'll say the government doesn't, but they won't do jack shit about it. They don't get up and they don't voice their concerns about the government. They don't go to these protests that I go to against the government. And before somebody tries saying that I was there, I was not there at the January 6th inauguration down in Washington, D.C. I was actually at work. But, and here's the other thing, if you're against the laws, why are you against what they did on January 6th? Because you realize if they would have actually had a plan, that's why I'm against it. They had no plan. There was no cooperation with each other. There was no idea what they were going to do once again. It was kind of like Japanese bombing Pearl Harbor. Hey, we're going to do this. Oh, shit. Fuck. What's our agenda after this? What's their next step? Nobody knew. And everybody's like, oh, that was a coup staged by Trump. Oh, that was a coup. That was the saddest coup I have ever seen. I've seen some sad coups. I've seen some great ones, too. But that was the saddest coup I have ever seen. Like, Turkey did a coup that was just tragic and literally made me laugh at them. That was better orchestrated than this. Like, there was no plan whatsoever. But you realize what would have happened if there would have been a plan, and if they would have been able to follow through with said plan, and if they would have done what they were planning on doing, of overthrowing the government. Do you realize what would have happened there? We the people would have been back in charge. We have lost charge. The government works for us. How many fucking times do I have to say this? Why can nobody understand that the fucking government works for us? But yet they're not working for us. They are tearing us apart. They're destroying us. They're pushing us into the fucking ground. And then dancing on our graves. And then somehow, once you're dead, you still vote. And the thing I love is that fucking fact check doesn't even fact check about the fucking, or maybe they do fact check it, but they don't fact check anything about the fucking voting after you're dead as Democrat. They haven't said anything against that. They haven't said that, no, that doesn't happen. The reason why is because it does. I know it firsthand. You want to know how I know it? My mom has been dead for years. My biological mom, not my stepmom. My biological mother has been dead for years. And this election, she got not one, not two, but 3 fucking mail-in ballots. 3 of them. Like my dad was like, did you fill those out and send them all back? Because, I mean, they do it. What's so wrong with us doing it? Oh, wait, that's right. We'll get caught because we're voting against what the Democrats do. That's right. Never mind. So we'll get caught. And then we'll go to jail. But, hey, you did it, so who cares? Rules for thee, but not for me. But, I digress. Now we're going to get out of the whole slavery portion and into what's going on with the political realm. More of it. The trial of Derek Chauvin. Can't pronounce his last name. I never have been able to. I hear it all the time, and I'm like, yeah, totally know who you're talking about. The cop, yeah. Trial of him. So, do I agree that he should have gotten charged with something? Yes, I do. Do I think all three were a bit excessive? Yes, I do. I said that in my police video. Here's why it happened, though. You've got fucking Maxine Waters coming out and talking about how if we don't try him as guilty, get more confrontational. Okay, sorry, you burning and looting and, killing 62 people in Chicago alone in 2 nights during the riots, none of which were shot by cops. They were all shot by gangbangers. Wasn't confrontational enough? Seriously? And I know everybody's gonna bring up, well, what about this Kyle kid? He shot 3 people, killed 3 people. Well, he didn't kill 3 people, he killed 2. And then the other one, well, he's gonna be a Democrat for the rest of his life because he's the only guy that's left. If you missed that joke, I'm sorry, I can't help you. He's on the left. Yeah. Anyway, they made him a lefty forever. Anyway, there's a lot of jokes they can make about this guy. And that was another thing. The media dropped out that he had a gun and they put a phone in there. They got busted for that one too. How is the media not arrested for misinformation? Well, that's right, because they have freedom of the press, and somehow that means the right to lie. That's right. I remember now. Anyway. Good God almighty. Went back to high and tight. Fiance made me do it. Anyway. Oh my God. Oh, forgot to do a shout out to Minnesota Back the Blue, Minnesota. Thank you so much for all the love and support you guys have given. You guys have been awesome. Thank you so much. Moving more into Maxine Waters, though. Sorry that I forgot to give a shout out to you at the beginning of the video. Moving more into Maxine Waters. Maxine Waters decided that she was going to say that, but this is also the same woman who said that when Trump said what he said about give no quarter and blah 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 during the inauguration, that he should have been tried for treason because he incited a riot. At no point did he say to go riot. No point did he say to get confrontational. Did people take that and take what he said and go and do that? Yes, they did, because you have idiots on both sides. By Maxine Waters' own personal beliefs that she voiced at that time, she should be tried for treason. They wanted to do an inauguration, or not inauguration. Carrie! Hold on. An investigation into Trump is not what I'm looking for. I'm going to ask my fiance because I'm having a brain fart. You can always remember the word for it. I have brain farts a lot when I'm doing these videos. But she wanted an investigation done where impeachment. That's the word I'm looking for. Never mind. Don't need you. Impeachment. They wanted to impeach Trump over this. Why can we not try to remove Maxine Waters as well? Why is that wrong? Everybody's like, oh, well, that's racist. Why? Well, because she's black, so you're making a color thing. How is that not racist? And yes, I say the word color because of the fact that color is just as much of a racist term as saying that something's racist because of their race. Both of which are racist. You're making this about race. You're making this about skin color. You are making this about color. All that is racist. I got called out by a guy because I called him boy. And he's black. And he sat there and goes, oh, you're going to use a racial term? I was like, I use it on everybody. I say boy to everybody when I'm correcting them. Because I'm calling them a little boy. I just use the phrase boy. It's not because you're black. I don't fucking care what your color is. If I'm calling you an idiot, I'm going to call you an idiot without saying it and say you're a boy. And it's just like when I'm talking to a girl. Or a woman, excuse me. When I'm talking to a woman, if she says something ignorant or just not not even ignorant, but like something that like a child would think, I sit there and go, okay, girl. And it's just my way of saying you're a child. But I'm calling you by your gender. The reason why I call you by your gender is because it triggers a lot of people nowadays. Because did you just assume my gender? Well, yes I did, because you have long hair and boobs. And yes, I did just assume your gender because you have a beard. Yeah, you got boobs too, but that might just be because you're fat. I don't know. 300-pound life's calling you. And now I'm going to get hated for body shaming. Don't care. I'm going to call you what I call you. I call myself a twig. I am overly skinny. People make fun of my body type all the time. I'm just like, I don't fucking care. But, so we've got this whole thing with Maxine Waters. And it's wrong for us to call her out on it because it's racist for us. Why? Because she's black? How is that not racist? How is that not racist of you to tell me I can't call someone out on their bullshit because of their race? Because they are a different skin tone than me. How is that not race? How is that not racist? Why is that not racist for you to sit here and tell me how I have white privilege because I'm white? That I have privilege. You want to talk about privilege? Let's talk about this. Do you know who has the hardest time right now trying to find a job? Vets. Do you know who has the hardest time finding a place to live? Vets. You want to talk about privilege? You want to talk about the lack of privilege? You who has the highest homeless population? Vets. You want to talk about privilege? You want to talk about the lack of privilege? You want to talk about who's the most mistreated? Do you know who gets called on and immediately the cop thinks, oh, they're in a PTSD mode? And that they're going to be violent when I get there? Veterans. 9 times out of 10, if a veteran gets called on by the police, they automatically already assume he's armed. They already assume that he's going to be violent. And a veteran ends up dying. Don't even try to talk to me about privilege. Don't even try to talk to me about police brutality. Don't even try talking to me about the homeless population. Don't even try to talk... AOC pissed me off because she's introducing a fucking bill. Oh. When I was growing up, vets were taken care of. Vets were looked up to. Like, my dad, we would go to a store, and if we saw recruiters, my dad would walk me over to the recruiter to thank them for their service. Now that I'm a vet, I hate that. And other vets do too. We absolutely hate that. But we appreciate that you are trying to be supportive. We just don't like being thanked. And I have people in my life who know that I hate it, and so they say it to me knowing I hate it. Just try to get a rise. And I used to get a rise on me. I used to tell them, don't do that. Please, don't thank me. One of my buddies at work told me that in his mind I'm a hero, and I was like, don't ever say that to me again. Just don't. And I explained to him why. But AOC introduced this bill that will cut benefits for military. It's going to cut college benefits. It's going to cut medical benefits. Cut other things. And I just sat there and was like, you wonder why we're so worried about you trying to take away our guns. You're already trying to cut our benefits. And I am extremely paranoid. I'm going to come out and say that. I believe that at some point in time, and it might not be tomorrow, it might not be next year, but at some point in time, the government is going to decide that veterans are a problem. And the reason why they're going to decide that is because we are trained. In order to become a vet, I had to first off go to basic training and shoot a target 300 meters out with iron sights. Yeah, that's how old I am for you kids who are watching this and you're like, I got to use an optic. Yeah, that's how old I am. I had to use iron sights. In order to get that veteran status, I had to survive. I had to survive long enough to get out. In order to become a veteran, I had to pass a shit ton of training. That include night movements. That include shooting at night. That included shooting during the daytime movements, running to cover. No, Itsuki, not you. Camera's not for you. Tell me why you think that a veteran would not be labeled as a problem to the government. Especially because most of the time, veterans end up hating the government because of how much we got fucked over by them. And now they're just doing it again. They're just finding another way to fuck us over. Housing, that was another one that she was going after. Housing allowances. So if you're married in the military, you get a housing allowance depending on you're married. So you obviously have your spouse, 1 kid, 2 kid, 3 kid, 8 kids. You get money depending on how many kids you have, how many dependents you have. Not even kids, dependents, and your spouse is considered dependent. And that becomes your housing allowance. And every time you get a rank, your housing allowance goes up. She wants to take that away. So now instead of you having a housing allowance, it's going to be a thing of you have rent. So now it's a thing of it used to just come out of your paycheck, and it was this much depending on your rank and depending on your dependents. And now it's a thing of it's just going to be this much. Oh, dependents aren't going to be a factor in it. So because you have dependents, your rates aren't going to go down. They're just going to stay the same. And that's why you see guys in the military who are like, oh, hey, I've got 8 fucking kids because, well, I was in the military and I lived on housing and, oh, hey, it was cheaper for me to have these many kids. Or it was more expensive because I got a bigger house. But some of them actually were smart and stayed in, like, smaller houses where they could still, like, okay, 2 kids per room. Where other ones decide to go into bigger houses where they're like, yeah, each kid gets their own room. Fuck it. But I grew up in a house where I had myself, my autistic brother, and my youngest brother all in the same bedroom. My kids would probably be the same way as me. Where, hey, it's 2 or 3 in a room. Once you turn 18, you have a chance where, because we have, let's say that I have 4 kids and I have a 3-bedroom house. Girls in one room, boys in another room. Well, let's say that one of my boys grows up. Let's say I have 2 boys and 2 girls in a perfect world. That's how it would work. So now that one boy, because the oldest boy grew up, that one boy now has his own bedroom. But I tell the oldest girl, who's older than this boy, when you turn 16, you will get your own room. Well, what's going to happen with the boy? Is he going to come sleep in the sister's room? No. What's going to happen with the boy is we're going to make one of these rooms, like my dad did, into a bedroom. Which means I'm going to put in retaining windows, and I'm going into too much knowledge into all that. Went down a rabbit hole. Sorry. We'll go into big families and how we can run all that stuff. I'll talk more about my childhood and a different video. Back to AOC though. Like, what the actual fuck, woman? you made a phrase about us having the Cadillac of healthcare, and now you're just taking it away. Like, you're trying to say it didn't that we don't matter without saying we don't matter. And the plan is they're giving it to illegals. People who haven't done shit for this country. People who have not put their life on the line. People who I have not seen do anything for their own country. If they were so great, if they are such great people, why did they not stay in their country to try to fight for it? These are military-aged men that are coming over. Give them a fucking gun and send them the fuck back and say, take it back. Do what we did in 1776. Well, they have tanks. Yeah, don't worry, there's weak spots. You don't know where those are because you're not trained, but you'll figure it out. If you don't, well, you'll die. Survival of the fittest. And that brings me on to my last and final point. Survival of the fittest. Evolutionists. Who all believe in this COVID. Ooh, scary COVID. Alright, so you guys all believe in survival of the fittest, right? Well, here's who COVID's killing. It's killing off the people who have underlying conditions, like myself. It's killing off those kind of people. So if you actually believe in survival of the fittest, why do you care? If you actually believe in all this crap about survival of the fittest, why do you care that's killing off the weak? That's what evolution does. It's so we can evolve further. Why do you care? Is it possible it's because evolution is only a theory? And that you fear death? I'm not afraid of death. And I love how much flack Christians get all the time. Because yes, I am a Christian. I'm not a Bible thumper. There's a difference. I'm a follower of Christ. Let's rephrase it and say that. Because I don't follow the church. I don't follow church traditions. Do I pray before I eat? Most of the time. There are days where I don't. Because I do fall short. But. And yes, I swear a lot. And I drink. And I smoke. And I used to dip. God, I miss dipping. Fuck. I was so much less angry when I dipped. But yeah, evolutionists completely preach all this, like, scientific fact that, the weak will just be weeded out. Maybe this is evolution's course of taking out us weaklings. But the thing is, I'm noticing, for most of the people who are getting it, and most of the people who are dying from it, are actually people who believe in wearing the mask. Like, that's most of the people I've noticed get it. I don't wear a mask go anywhere. Besides if I have to run into a store and they're completely Nazis about it. In which case, I get past the fucking worker, take off my mask, and I walk around the store. And then as soon as I see another employee, I pull back up. And then I pull back down. Pull back up, pull back down. I actually left Costco one day and I was pissed at the greeter when I was leaving. Because I had the mask on and I was down here, right below my nose. And he looks at me as I'm trying to leave, as he's checking off my receipt, and says to me, "Sir, I need you to pull your mask up." Why? Well, sir, it has to be covering your nose. God forbid, and I pulled it up. I was like, that centimeter be pulled down a little bit so I can actually fucking breathe. And you don't get COVID because I'm breathing on my nose. You have a fucking mask on. How is your mask not protecting you, but my mask is protecting you? If that's the case, you don't need to wear a mask as long as I'm wearing one. And vice versa. How about we just put peeing areas in the swimming pools? You can pee over here, but not over here. Oh, and don't worry, your swimming suit's gonna protect you from the pee. It doesn't work. And then people are like, well, if you pee in your pants, then you're not going to be peeing on mine. Yeah, but here's the thing. If I'm wearing pants and I pee, I'm the one who's getting the pee on me. If you're wearing pants and you pee, you're the one getting pee on you. Even if I'm not wearing pants. I just popped a hole in that argument, didn't I? Oh, fuck you, Facci, you fucking hack of a fucking doctor. Just poked a hole in your fucking... Wish there was actually a hole in your fucking theory. Oh my god. And how is this guy not arrested? Like, seriously, like, how is he... Oh my god. How is the government not arrested for the lies? For the taxation? For, like, oh my god. For the false information they have fed us for years. Like I keep saying, this is not the America I grew up in. I grew up where we could watch the news and not worry about, am I going to be fed a narrative? And then I would sit there and I would watch it. And it was always a thing of, after I got done watching it, I had to make up my mind of, do I agree with what happened? Because the news didn't tell me if I agreed or not. And that was the thing that I noticed with this whole court hearing. The media said how it was. They said it was murder. They kept saying it. The government kept saying it. The athletes kept saying it. The actors kept saying it. The musicians kept saying it. And then you get a jury up there, and the jury's supposed to try to decide, was this murder or not? And they're just sitting there like, well, the media all said it was. The politicians all said it was. The government said it was. Which is politicians, but musicians, actors, actresses, athletes, they all said it was murder. So if I say it's not, I'm going to be the one with the target. How is that justice? How is that not persuading the jury? Again, do I agree that Siobhan should have gotten something? Yes. He should have gotten jail time. Do not get me wrong. He did kneel on the guy's his body for too long. The guy did die under his care. Is kneeling on him what killed him? I disagree. That's not what killed him. But he was under his care. That's where the problem lies. If he would have been put in the back of the squad car, just left in there, and the guy died from ODing, that would be a different story because he was in the back of the squad. He was not under their control. They were not holding him. They just had him in the back of the car. So that would have been a different story. Would they have tried to get the cops on something? They would have. But the problem would have been trying to prove it. Same problem they were having with this hearing. Except for the fact of the media got involved. The courts got involved. You had the government involved. Actors, actresses, athletes. Everybody was involved in this hearing that should not have been. It should have been a judge, 2 lawyers, the 12 jurors, the witnesses, the defendant, and the accuser. But the accuser was dead. So it should have been the accuser's family. That's it. That should have had any fucking say in this. It's the way I grew up, was that's who has say. And the other thing I was taught growing up that we have lost is that you weren't there. You don't know what happened. That was one of the things my dad always instilled in me. You are not in their boots. You cannot judge them. Because I remember I looked out one time, and it was back before I was a smoker, because I was young. I was like 5 years old. I remember I saw a smoker out of the car. And I grew up believing smoking was wrong, as most Christians are brought up to believe. And because it was putting something in your body that wasn't natural. And I remember looking out the window and seeing a smoker standing outside of Target smoking a cigarette. And I told my dad, he's not a Christian. And I have never seen my dad whip around that fast. He just whipped around, pointed at me, and goes, why do you say that? Why do you say that? And I looked at him and was like, he's smoking. And my dad goes, you don't know. He said, you do not know what he's been through. You do not know who he is. You cannot judge him. And that stuck with me for like the rest of my life. I see homeless people. And my first instinct is to judge, man, if you had been good at your job, you wouldn't be homeless. But I don't know their situation. Maybe it was a thing of they were good at their job. And maybe their job moved to Mexico. Maybe they were good at their job and their job just had to do layoffs because of COVID. Or because of something else from years back. I don't fucking know their situation. I'm not them. I'm not in their boots. And we have lost that as an American society. I honestly believe that our older generation is the only one who still holds that. And there's a lot of judgmental people that are in the older generation as well. But for the most part, I believe that our older generation is the one who holds that you don't know their situation. You don't know why they're there. You don't know how they got there. Maybe what we need to do, instead of judging one another all the time, and instead of attacking one another all the time, maybe we need to start coming together and try to help one another. And I'm not talking about in like a socialist communist way where here my money is your money, my things are your things, my house is your house, blah blah blah. I'm not talking about in that way. I'm talking about in a way where, hey, you are struggling with carrying up your groceries, and instead of me just standing there watching you, I'm going to help you. I'm going to come alongside you. Hey, you're a dude and you're breaking down crying because of something that's going on in your life. Instead of me making fun of you and calling you a beta male or a weakling, what have you, let me come alongside you, see what's going on. Maybe that's what we need to start doing. Maybe we need to get back to being an actual brotherhood in America. Brothers and sisters, where we were actually united. That's why it's called the United States. Because we were united at the time when we went to war against England. This ain't my America. We are so divided. When I was growing up, I remember playing with Mexican kids, black kids, Asian kids down at the park. And none of us cared about that, oh, you're not the same color as me. All we cared about was having fun together. That's all we cared about. What happened? Where did we go wrong? My last thought I'm going to leave with you is this. Can America get back to where it was? Can we get back to being the United States? Because I am scared. And I'm terrified that we will not be able to make it back. And that's it, people. I'm the Ranting Cowboy, signing off. Next time we will be talking about Joe Biden, and we'll be mentioning his middle name, which was brought to me by my friend. So, set up, boys and girls. It's going to be another bumpy ride.